Good morning, children. This is the second video on Lost Spring. In the first part, I gave you the story of Sahibi Alam and his companion, a group of rag-picking children. In the second segment, the writer gives us the story of Mukesh and his community, a bangle-making community in Firozabad. If you did not watch the first part, subscribe the channel, press the bell button, watch and come back. Before we moving on to the story, I would like to give you a short introduction of Mukesh's story. Let us go. Spring is the season of bloom. It is the starting point of a seasonal variety. With the human, spring is the childhood period. If the spring of a child is not bright and flourish, it may affect the entire lifespan of him. This period is associated with the play, vitality, fun and innocence. It is also the age of learning things to equip himself with to suit for a modern technical era. Lost Spring is the story of poor children who are condemned to poverty and a life of exploitation. The two child protagonists, Sahib and Mukesh, lose their spring that becomes the basement of their entire life in poverty and child labor. The writer finishes with the sparks of resilience and hope amidst the present bleak world of these children. Now, let us move on to the story. I will give you story along with some video clippings to make you understand what is the life of Mukesh. The second segment of Lost Spring starts with a subtitle. I want to drive a car. This is said by Mukesh. He is a representative of the bangle making community of Firozabad. This Firozabad is also in the outskirts of Delhi. He tells the writer that he wants to become a motor mechanic. And when he says these words, he is so determined, he is so resolute to achieve his aim in life. From here, the writer takes us to the city of Firozabad. How does it look like? Within one sentence, the writer brings out the entire life of the people in Firozabad. Now let us move on to the sentence. As a writer, Anis Jung's brilliance can be seen in sentences like this. Look at this sentence. His dream looms like a mirage amidst the dust of streets that fill his town of Firozabad, famous for its bangles. So here, the child's dream compares with a mirage that looms like a mirage. Looms means coming into vision. Little by little. A mirage is like that. It doesn't come all of a sudden. It is revealed slowly. And this mirage is caused because the streets of Firozabad is filled with dust. And the city or town is famous for its bangles. It is the bangle making town. Mukesh wants to become a motor mechanic. He wants to become his own master. This is his dream. But the writer sees his dream as a mirage amidst the dust of streets in his town. Now, let us move on to a video clipping. We can go watch and come back. What is the process behind this bangle making? One day Mukesh takes the author to his house. When they walk along the streets of Firozabad, the writer notices the lanes there. The stinking lanes, choked with garbage in every corner of the street. She also notices the houses there. They have crumbling walls and wobbly doors. Most of the residents of this area are the bangle making people. And finally, they reach in front of such a house. Mukesh kicks open the wobbly door. As they enter, she sees a frail young woman sitting at the open courtyard of the house, and she is preparing some meals for the entire family. She is preparing the dinner. She is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother, but she doesn't seem a matured woman. Still, she is in her childhood, and she has demanded the respect as the daughter-in-law of the house. She is in charge of 3 men of the house: her husband, Mukesh, and their father. Their father here is an impoverished man. When he appears there, the frail young woman who hides behind the walls and puts her veils over her face as custom demands. It is the custom of the community that when the male elders come in front of the daughter-in-laws, they have to hide behind the walls and put the veils over their face. Released from this child labor, these children spend most of their daytime inside these dingy cells. So most of them have lost their eyesight. They are adjusted more with this darkness than the light outside. They walk down the foul-smelling lanes of Firozabad. These lanes crowded with the families of humans and animals, coexisting in a primeval state. Mukesh's father says, even after a lifetime's work, he can not even able to renovate his house. He is failed to send his 2 sons to school. What he does is, he teaches his sons what he knows, that is, the art of bangle making. The writer meets Mukesh's grandmother also. She says it is their destiny. She has already witnessed her husband go blind with the dust of polishing the glass of bangles. She raises the question, can a God-given lineage ever be broken? For generations they do nothing except bangle making. They have only seen the bangles in every courtyard of the houses in Firozabad. In every house, boys and girls, along with their parents and grandparents, in a line, sitting and welding the glass pieces into bangles. Their eyes are more adjusted to the darkness than the light outside. That's why they lose their eyesight before they become adults. This is their destiny. Then the writer gives us the work of another young girl from the same community. She is Savita. She is sitting there along with her grandma. She is welding the bangles and her hands moves like mechanical hands. She doesn't know the sanctity of the bangles that she is making. They symbolize an Indian woman's auspiciousness in marriage. She will soon become a child bride like the old woman who sits beside her, who became one many years ago. She has bangles in her hand, but no sight in her eyes. She complains. She has not even eaten a full meal in her entire life. That is what she has reaped from her bangle making job. Her husband, an old man with a flowing beard, says he doesn't know anything except the bangles. All that he has acquired in his life is the house. Can we call it a house at all? He proudly says.
They play a vital part of the Indian workforce. Despite efforts to stamp out child labour, more than 12 million children are forced to work for long hours with little or no pay. The Sardar Bazaar of Firozabad in India's northern state of Uttar Pradesh is famous for its colourful glass bangles. The bazaar also serves as a child labour market, where youngsters, some no more than 6 or 7, are hired to make and trade bangles for under $1 a day.
I work in a bangle factory, working for 8 hours, and I earn 30 to 35 rupees per day. I have no time for studies. I don't have a choice.
India employs more child labourers than anywhere else in the world, despite a ban prohibiting children from working. When challenged, authorities often deny that factory owners are flouting child labour laws. Campaigners say this response is typical. Critics claim a lack of political will combined with poor investigative procedures and corruption are responsible. See the age-old practice of employing children from poor families as a crime.
The cry of not having money to do anything other than bangle making is heard in every corner of Firozabad. The young echoes the laments of the elders. Little has moved with the time in Firozabad. The writer comments, the mind-numbing toil has killed their ability to take initiative and dream. The writer asks these young men, why don't they organize themselves into a cooperative society? They have been entrapped in a vicious circle by the middlemen. Not only these young men, but their fathers and forefathers were the victims of this exploitation. If they organize, these middlemen use the police to stop it. There is no one among them to lead them, to open their eyes, to take an initiative. These young men talk endlessly in a spiral from poverty to apathy to injustice. Listening to these young men, the writer thinks about the two worlds. One is the world of these poor bangle makers. They are fallen into the stigma of poverty. And the other is the world of the middleman who uses the entire forces of the society to exploit them. The police, the lawmakers, the bureaucrats, and even the politicians. They together imposed the baggage on the child who born in the bangle making community. The writer says, these young men don't have the dare to think differently, think out of the box. But she sees it in Mukesh when he says he wants to become a motor mechanic. Then she asks him again, does he want to become a pilot? When she asks this question, he suddenly becomes silent. He looks downwards. The writer comes to the conclusion that he is now satisfied, he is content to drive a car. Mukesh doesn't have a rocket dream. Moreover, there are no means and motivations in a town like Firozabad for a child like Mukesh to dream of flying an aeroplane. Mukesh indicates that the children of Firozabad can't cherish far-fetched dreams like flying aeroplanes over there. So he does not want to cherish a dream as high as a flying aeroplane.
Firozabad can be best described as a city that produces more than 50 million bangles every day. A city that virtually eats, sleeps and drinks bangles. Firozabad accounts for 70% of the total glass production in the small-scale sector in India. But sadly, the increase in the volume of work has failed to keep pace with technological upgradation. Workers continue to slog in inhuman conditions. They take in fumes and fall prey to deadly lung and respiratory diseases. In-house, they possess very little capacity to bring about change and innovation in the direction of efficient use of energy and protecting the environment.
These units are located
Pot furnace. Pot furnaces are used to melt glass of different colors in different pots of the same furnace. Assistance was sought from experts of British Glass and a Swiss agency for conceptualizing and designing the pot furnace. But one of the biggest challenges was to convince the local industry to come forward and adopt the new concept. But Muhammad Islam Khan somehow mustered the courage to take the plunge. He said yes to Terry to set up the first demonstration plant of the pot furnace in his factory. The Terry furnace works on the principle of recovering heat from the flue gases which go waste in a conventional furnace. The furnace is fired centrally by a single burner mounted on top of the furnace crown. Before the flue gas reaches the chimney, it passes through a heat recovery system called a recuperator, which preheats the incoming combustion air. The temperature of the combustion air increases from 40 degrees centigrade to 500 degrees centigrade, thereby increasing the energy efficiency. The metallic recuperator is placed in the underground flue path and made in 5 modules to facilitate easy handling. As a result of the sound technology, the Terry furnace has an energy consumption that is 25 to 35% lower than the conventional gas-fired furnaces operating in the cluster. That's not all. The payback period ranges from 6 months to 24 months, depending upon the furnace capacity and price of natural gas available to the industry. Compared to the conventional furnaces, the operating life of the Terry furnace is much more. There's a dramatic change in the working conditions as well. Today, more than 40 pot furnaces based on the Terry technology are running successfully in Firozabad. Some more are under construction. In 1996, the Supreme Court directed 292 industries located in the Taj Trapezium zone to switch over to natural gas to protect the Taj Mahal. It banned the use of coal as fuel. Immediately, the larger melting furnaces in Firozabad had to switch or shut down. The government, in coordination with GAIL India, laid pipelines to supply natural gas to various factories. With gas available, most furnace owners readily switched over. But the 800-odd coal-based Pakai Bhattis, where the essential part of the bangle making process happens, kept looking for some help to come their way. They were looking for technological options to switch over from coal to gas. These Pakai Bhattis were apparently outside the ambit of the Supreme Court verdict. For the people working here, this meant living in the same world of cough and disease. For each household in Firozabad, bangles are the only source of livelihood. These are the people who work through days and nights in scarce light, in cramped rooms and with risky kerosene stoves and LPG cylinders to produce the best glassware in the world. They are mostly unorganized and have always relied on the middlemen to pay them a meager sum of money for their services. Terry collaborated with a local NGO called Vikas Sansthan to mobilize artisans and bring them on a common platform to address social and economic issues.
ये जो ग्लास डेकोरेटिव आइटम्स बनाने वाले लोग थे, ये सब अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड थे. सबके बीच में पानी की समस्या है, हेल्थ की समस्या है, इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन टोटली ख़राब है, एजुकेशन की, बच्चों के एजुकेशन की प्रॉब्लम्स है. तो इसको पूरा देखते हुए इसके अलावा कोई तकनीकी सुधार भी नहीं हुआ है. तो इस सारे दृष्टिकोण को रखते हुए इनके बीच में काम करना शुरू किया. बट कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजिकल इम्प्रूवमेंट करने के लिए सबसे पहले लोगों का कलेक्टिव्स करना, लोगों की एक मेंटली प्रिपेयरनेस करना, और लोगों को लगे कि नहीं इससे कुछ फ़ायदा हमारा हो रहा है, उसके बाद आगे सोचना. एंड कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजिकल अगर इम्प्रूवमेंट करते हैं तो उसको ख़रीदने के लिए लोगों की सामर्थ्य लाना, इस तरह का प्रयास करने के लिए कोऑपरेटिव संगठन बनाया है.
The formation of a cooperative in Dokeli village near Firozabad has given new power to the artisans. Their raw material is now a bulk purchase. An order from a client would mean work for all and profits that are shared. If any cooperative member is in need of cash, the group pitches in by charging a nominal rate of interest. The wives of these cooperative members are part of a self-help group. Besides providing loans, the group is slowly becoming a forum for the village women to sensitize each other on issues of health and empowerment. People in Firozabad are beginning to understand the importance of working in a cleaner environment. The challenge ahead is to see that the local industry identifies itself with these newer concepts so that the next generation inherits a smoke-free and safe working environment.